On a quiet Tuesday morning of May 20th, 2025 in Ibadan, the family hope was shattered, most unimaginably. A 14-year-old boy, Kehinde Alade, full of dreams and ready to write his Waec exams, never made it to the examination hall. Instead, he became the victim of a tragic police shooting that has left a community grieving and demanding justice. Kehinde and his twin brother were on their way to the exam center, driven by their father. It was supposed to be a proud, defining day for the family, but just minutes into the journey, everything changed. According to the Oyo State Police Command, officers were working alongside the Oyo State Traffic Management Authority on a traffic enforcement operation. They attempted to stop a black Honda Accord driven by Kehinde's father, accusing him of driving against traffic. Police claimed the driver did not comply, accelerating instead, and reportedly struck two government vehicles and a patrol truck. Officers, fearing a potential criminal act or abduction, responded with a high-speed chase. In an attempt to stop the vehicle, one officer discharged his weapon, aiming for the car tires. But in a tragic twist of fate, the bullet missed and hit Kehinde, who was seated in the back seat. His father, in shock and desperation, rushed him to a nearby hospital, but it was too late. Kehinde was pronounced dead on arrival. Eyewitnesses, family members, and the entire community were left stunned. His twin brother, who sat beside him, recounted the horrifying moment. When the gunshot rang out and blood started pouring from Kehinde's side, I thought he could be saved, but it was too late, he whispered, holding back tears. The incident has sparked widespread outrage. Protesters marched to the governor's office, carrying Kehinde's remains, calling for justice and accountability. The Oyo State Police Command has since confirmed that the officer responsible has been arrested. Along with his team, a full investigation is underway, led by the Deputy Commissioner of Police. The command has promised transparency and says the result will be made public. But for Kehinde's father, no promise can bring back his son. We left home together, full of life, full of dreams. Now, I carry my son's lifeless body around town. Let's analyze the way the victim's father drove his vehicle. Who is at fault here? Is it him or the police who has to be blamed? Before that, let us see what the law says regarding when a police officer is required to pull his trigger. When can a Nigerian police officer lawfully use a firearm? According to Section 72 of the Nigerian Police Act, 2020, a police officer may only use firearms under specific and limited circumstances. Permitted circumstances for use of firearms: 1. Self-defense or defense of others, when a police officer or another person is in imminent danger of death or serious injury. 2. Preventing the commission of a serious crime, only if the crime involves a threat to life or serious injury. For example, armed robbery, terrorist act. 3. Effecting the arrest of a suspect, posing a grave threat. If a suspect resists arrest in a manner that puts others in imminent danger, especially when the suspect is armed. 4. Preventing the escape of a dangerous criminal, especially if the escapee is known to be violent or poses a serious threat to the public. What is not justified? Fleeing traffic violators, unarmed suspects, or non-violent crimes do not justify the use of firearms. One shot or firing into crowds is considered unlawful and reckless. Shooting at vehicle tires can only be justified if the car poses an immediate threat to life, and even then, only when there is no safer alternative. Now let's look at legal and human rights implication. Section 33 of the 1999 Constitution guarantees the right to life and allows the privation of life only in very limited situations, such as self-defense or lawful force to prevent a crime. Nigeria is a signatory to international human rights treaties, including the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights (ICCPRO), and the Africa Charter on Human People's Rights, both of which restrict the use of lethal force to strictly necessary situations. A Nigerian police officer is only justified in pulling the trigger when there is clear, immediate, and unavoidable danger to life or safety. Reckless use of firearms, especially during minor infractions or traffic violation, is unlawful, and officers involved can be prosecuted for manslaughter or murder, depending on the case. With that being said, it's obvious that the shooting is not warranted and not professional. As we process the painful story of 14-year-old Kehinde Alade's death, we must step back and look at the full picture, not just the tragedy, but the choices that led up to it. This isn't to point fingers without reason, but to reflect, learn, and prevent such horrors from repeating themselves. Let's talk about Mr. Oduayo Alade, the father of the deceased, the driver behind the wheel that morning, according to his account. He had just stopped to get a vulcanizer to inflate his car tires. For those unfamiliar, a vulcanizer uses a powerful air compressor connected by a rubber hose to pump air into vehicle's tires. Depending on the location of the tire, especially if it's the one facing the road, it's not unusual for the vulcanizer to ask the driver to turn the car toward oncoming traffic for easier access. That is fair enough. But here's the hard question. If you truly were stopped at a vulcanizer, doing nothing illegal while fleeing from law enforcement, why race away aggressively with your children in the back seat? The police reported that Mr. Alade was driving against traffic. Instead of pulling over to explain the situation or calmly asserting that he had stopped for a tire repair, he allegedly drove erratically, ramming into official vehicles and breaking through multiple blockades. Now let's pause for a second. Even if you feel wronged, even if you believe the officers are misinterpreting your actions, your first responsibility as a father is to ensure the safety of your children, not to escalate, not to panic, and certainly not to make reckless choices on a busy road during a tense confrontation with armed officers. To be late to an exam is better than to end up in a morgue. The truth is, this tragedy was avoidable. Mr. Alade had options. He could have stopped, explained the situation, and dealt with the consequences. Yes, traffic laws are often enforced harshly in Nigeria. Yes, sometimes the fear of harassment drives people to flee. But when children are in your car, your ego, pride, or unjustly must take a back seat. Raising children alone, especially twins, is not a small task. It takes years of sacrifice, emotional, financial, and mental investment. And in a single moment, the journey was shattered by a decision made in fear and haste. This is not to exonerate the police officer who fired the fatal shot. That act must be fully investigated and justice served. But we must also be honest with ourselves as citizens. How do we respond when faced with law enforcement? Do we flee and hope for the best? Or do we stand and speak the truth calmly? Let Kehinde's story be a sobering lesson, one rooted not just in blame, but in change. Let's protect our children, not just from strangers or the state, but from the impulsive decisions we might make in moments of pressure.